Are you a big fan of the ups and downs?
Gotta be if you're a Flames fan.
If you're a Flames fan, you definitely are. Dylan and Chris from the Armchair GM Podcast, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. Let's discuss it. Well, Dylan, it's been a couple of weeks since we've had an episode, and it's been a real flip-floppy kind of month of December. What are you thinking about the play so far?
Uh, I mean, I'd be lying if I wasn't disappointed. It's, you can't have 5 losses in the last 6 games and not be slightly disappointed at the very least.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
However, I think we deserved better in a couple of the games. The team hasn't. It's so fucked. The team hasn't shown up when the goalie's shown up, and the goalie hasn't shown up when the team has shown up.
Yeah.
A lot this year, like 20 fucking games this year, and that's got to stop. Everybody's got to show up.
Yeah, you do expect a bit of a performance from all of your professional athletes that are making a bit of money to do so.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things that kind of what I'm noticing it is you notice the team in front of, say, Markstrom, if he's letting in the first shot or as he's shown the last few games, not necessarily the first shot, but the second and third are definitely going in. So one of those three, sometimes two of those three. As soon as the team gets down quick like that, I find their strategy seems to change, right? They're instantly on the defensive, trying to kind of compensate for what is piss poor starts from Markstrom and the team, right? Because I mean, let's be honest, they've come out flat a lot of times this year.
And sometimes the poor start from Markstrom is on Markstrom, and other times the poor start from Markstrom statistically is bad turnovers and defensive breakdowns and no defense at all and fucking bullshit like that. But definitely both of those things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that being said, we've got possibility of 20 points so far in the month of December. We've picked up 11. So it's not as bad as it kind of feels because of the last 5 games, but the last 5 games should not have happened. Thankfully we did pick up 3 points in those losses, but there were some flat performances against just not very good teams. Like, how the fuck do you lose to Columbus 3-1?
And like, that was the worst game I've seen since before Daryl Sutter arrived back in town.
Yeah.
Like, in 2 full years, that is easily the worst game I've seen them play. Easily.
Yeah. And Sutter said it perfectly at the end of the game in the presser, right? Said, we had a lot of players that came for a visit.
Yeah.
And that's really what it looked like on the ice. They sure weren't there to win a hockey game. That's for damn sure.
No. And what really irks me is that they laid that egg and they had a chance with a different goalie in net, because they lost to Columbus with Markstrom in that. And then the next day they go to Toronto, who they know is a offensively talented team. Like, everybody knows that Toronto is a quite offensively talented team.
Mm-hmm.
And they lay another egg. Like, they managed to score, but they refuse to defend. And if you score, like, if you score 4 on Matt Murray, which isn't hard, you should win the fucking game. If you score 4 on the road, you should be winning the game. You know what I mean? And yes, it was a shootout loss, but it's still like they did not. Wasn't that the game? Like, it's been a couple weeks here, but that was the game they took like an absurd amount of penalties, wasn't it? Oh yeah, because even the coach said, "Oh, that's what happens when you're in Toronto," which isn't completely true. It happens everywhere, but yeah,
there. I mean, when he was I think when Daryl made that comment, he was referencing his time when he was in Chicago back in the 80s, right?
Yeah,
and it was a well-known thing back then. Not saying that's. I mean, when you're talking about stick infractions, like you can't contest that. When you high stick somebody in the face, it's a high stick. When you slash somebody, it's a slash. When you hook somebody, that's, there's a little more leeway on that one, right? That's more discretionary. But the ones like sticks in the face, we've had so many high sticks in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's funny. The team finally cleans up the too many men thing that's been a problem for a couple of years, and then they start fucking waving their sticks around like they're fucking Thomas Hurdle. Yeah. We'll get to that.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's there were a lot of penalties that we took on in that game. The one thing that really bothered me when I was watching it, and one of the things I kind of do agree with on Daryl, it's not the penalties that were called on us, it's the penalties that were not called on Toronto.
Yeah.
There was a fucking ton of them. Like that who was it? Manji? No, sorry. Can't remember who cross-checked Matthews there and took that. I think it might have been Zadorov.
Oh yeah.
So a light cross-check, Matthews goes down like he's playing soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. It is a cross-checking penalty. I get it. I mean, could there have been embellishment on that? I mean, obviously there was, but could it have been called? Sure. But what really pissed me off was later on in the same period, Mangiapane gets the same thing. Cross-checked in the back. He goes down, no fucking call. 20 seconds later, Backlund gets called for probably one of the weakest cross-checking calls I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Those sorts of things are what really bothered me on
There's
that.
no standard, and I get that, each ref is different, even though they shouldn't be when it comes to calls. The calls should, the rule book should be a lot more black and white than it is. But the thing that gets me is that the same refs in the same games being inconsistent, that doesn't make sense. If you're going to call something on one player, call it on every fucking player in that game.
As soon as you call it once, the standard has been set.
Exactly. You set the standard. Yeah. Go with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if it's the 18th fucking cross-checking penalty of the period. So be it. They haven't learned that that's what you're calling. That's on them.
That's right. It's up to the players to clean that up at that point, right?
Yeah.
But it has to be called. If you're going to start making it the call, it needs to be called throughout the game. So that's what kind of irritated me with the officiating in that game. Okay, it wasn't. I mean, I believe every one of Calgary's penalties were justified or could have been called, except for the Backlund one still kind of bothers me, but it is what it is. But it was the other ones that weren't called on the other side. That's what really bugged me about that one.
Yeah.
And that's what I think Sutter was really getting at.
Yeah. And I mean, you squeezed the point out of that. I think that as a fan base, we probably all would have been less pissed off with that loss if the team hadn't completely shit the bed in Columbus like they did. If we had come out with those 2 points that we had absolutely no business throwing away like that.
Yeah, walking out of that back-to-back with 3 points instead of one would have been great.
Yeah, exactly. And And then you go to Montreal, and so I have something to say to the fans about this game, and in general the last both games against Montreal we've had this year. Because did Markstrom started the other one too? I can't remember.
Let's see.
Yeah. So when those games were both over, the fan base flipped out about goaltending. They flipped out about how shitty the goaltending was, and how bad Markstrom is, and how bad all of that shit is. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, you witnessed the team score one goal on Jake fucking Allen in 2 games.
Yeah.
1 goal combined. And yes, sure, he played very well the first game, but you fucking shot it right into his belly. You shot it right at his pads. You weren't crashing for rebounds. You weren't trying to snipe. You were just getting shot volume, which is driving me nuts this year. I don't give a fuck about shot volume. Get shot quality.
Quality shots. And to put a loss on a goaltender after he finally lets a single goal in the third is asinine.
Yeah.
Like it's
to blame
it's
a goaltender
fucking,
for a
fucking
2-1
ridiculous.
shootout loss is straight up fucking stupid.
Yeah. I mean, granted, his
1 goal wasn't good.
no,
Sure.
no. I'm not talking about the regulation goal. The shootout was gross, but
yeah,
like you cannot put that on the goalie.
No,
it should not have been in that situation. That should not have been. That should not have gone to overtime. It shouldn't have gone to a shootout. It's stupid.
If you lost that game 7-6 in a shootout, you blame the goaltender probably.
Right. Sure.
If you almost never ever lose a game 2-1, even in regulation, and blame a goaltender.
That's right.
That's on your team. You need 3 goals to win in this league, generally, almost every time.
It's a standard, right? It's definitely a standard for sure.
So fans, blame the right fucking party.
Blame Dylan.
Blame me. I'm shit. Complete shit.
Fucking
so
shit.
after the Montreal game, again, squeezed a point out of that one.
Yep.
We go back to Markstrom for the Vancouver game.
Right. Which, why wouldn't you, right?
He's played well. I mean, at that point, he had let in 2 goals in his last 2 games. So, yeah, go right back to him, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, he didn't play great in that game.
No, he didn't. I mean, the team fell apart in front of him too. I'm not like he should have had a couple of those, but the team did fall apart in front of him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he in that game, he had a 889 save percentage, which isn't what you want out of your top line guy or top goalie, right? But
no.
But I mean, it wasn't as bad as the next one, but so there's that.
Yeah.
But I mean, but even just like,
and that shootout in Vancouver was a joke for a whole different reason.
Like, yeah, the one against Vancouver and Calgary, that was agreed.
That was like, don't get me wrong, I like Backlund and all that type of stuff, but
yeah, who did we?
That shootout lineup was fucking stupid.
It was bad.
And I know Sutter was just trying to prove a point or trying to go with hot hand or whatever the fuck he was doing.
Yeah.
But I mean, a brutal miss and just a complete whiff, and go with your fucking shootout guys.
Right.
Even like Rasmus Anderson is now a shootout guy. Go with him.
which is funny, 1 goal in 3 attempts this year, right?
2.
Has he got 2?
Yeah. Yeah, he scored the same goal. The same thing on
Yeah, you're
2
right.
shootouts.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. And then St. Louis. And St. Louis is just that. I'll be honest. I was sick and had to work the next day, well, at midnight. So I missed that game and I watched parts of it later while I was on my break at work. And I just, yeah, like I went back to it, but I couldn't put myself through that.
The first 2 periods, I mean, it was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. That third period was the worst period Calgary's played this season. I was going to say
includes Columbus.
That includes Columbus. I was going to say this calendar year, but I can't say that because game 1 against Edmonton in the playoffs last year was just as bad.
Yeah, the one we won that
the 9-4, 9-5.
Everyone was
9-6.
celebrating.
I can't remember what the fucking score was, but it was
9-6. I was sitting over there thinking, oh yeah,
that was probably one of the worst games I've ever
fucking
seen.
6 goals. That's gonna win us the series.
Yeah. I mean, if we could get 9 every night, then it would, but obviously that's not going to happen.
Seems pretty sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah, we're down 2-1 going into the third. I mean, it's not a great position to be in, but at least it's doable. But then, holy shit, the wheels fell off. Like it was disgusting.
Yeah, it was, and do we have to talk about it?
I mean, I'm already over it.
Yeah. So on this to San Jose, a game we actually won 5-2.
I'm over it because 2 days later, San Jose, baby, whoop whoop.
Yeah. Finally, we beat the team that we should beat.
Right.
Finally,
I was going to say,
we beat the team we should beat,
and with a score that it should have been. You know what I mean?
And
we should have more than doubled their goals.
Yes, and I was going to say very deservedly so. And going back to the shot quality instead of quantity, I believe we got outshot in the San Jose game, but we outplayed the shit out of them.
Yeah.
I even think the possession numbers were close to the same for each team, but we outchanced them heavily, like with grade A opportunities. Markstrom made the saves he needed to make, a couple of really nice ones, and you can't blame him on either of the. We were talking about this earlier. You can't blame him on either of the ones that did go in because those were great cross crease, and he almost got both of them.
So we were essentially less in all metrics except for penalty minutes, right? 25 to 26 for shots for San Jose.
Yeah, which is whatever.
Yeah, 55 to 45% in the faceoff dot to San Jose. 2 for 7 opposed to 1 for 4 in the power play. We had seven fucking penalties. And we still pulled the win out, convincingly.
Yeah. And we looked like, even though we took those penalties, I don't know if you're trying to disprove what I'm saying here, but
nope.
I think we deserved the fuck out of that win. We took those penalties, yes, and we shouldn't have, but
we controlled the narrative of the game for the first 2 periods for sure.
Yeah.
We had puck possession for far more of the first 2 periods than San Jose did.
Yeah.
They out hit us, they out blocked us, but those are signs of a team that are trying to battle back.
Yeah.
And being outplayed. Right? That's just what you do.
And a couple of those calls were kind of chintzy, like the even Eric Carlson was laughing because Eric Carlson did what Eric Carlson does and broke his own ankles and got a
Right.
tripping call out of it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that was a bad call.
yeah,
The
and he was laughing about it. Like
Yeah.
he knew it was a stupid call, and they scored like fucking 3 seconds into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
On a really nice shot from Timo Meyer.
The one thing that kind of got to me, so we got Luch back in the lineup. You know, I think it was his second game back after three nights off, 3 games off.
Mhm.
While Luch is on the ice, Gilbert takes on a fight.
I know, and it was at a really bad time. Like, I like the fact that Gilbert's trying to keep his spot. I like the fact that he wants to fight, but we were up 2-1 at the time, I believe.
We were up 2-1. I think what it wasn't so much Gilbert. I think they were talking about some history between the two potentially from juniors.
All I heard was maybe these two have some
that's
history.
Maybe what it was.
I didn't hear that they did. I know that Mackey and whoever he fought the other night,
right?
Pizzetta, I think those two have fought before, but I don't think these guys. They may have, but I think that was more of the commentators. Rick Ball, I think, just saying maybe these two have fought before.
Right. Yeah, that could be. But I mean, like whenever a team is down, there's always going to be somebody trying to rejuvenate their team and get the team back in it. So obviously, I think Gilbert being the recipient of that call, who decided he wasn't going to back down. So I don't put any stock in the fact that he did it in a time that he shouldn't have, because by rights he was actually doing very well in that fight until that last punch.
I do agree, but him doing well in the fight doesn't mean it was a good time to fight. To me,
yeah, no, that's fair.
But
what again, really bothered me,
Gilbert is doing a good job proving himself and stuff like that. But I also think that with a certain guy on the ice, he should have gone over there and pushed Gilbert out of the way and knocked the other guy out.
Agreed.
Yeah,
I agree with that 100%.
Especially after him not playing for
games. And everybody talking about the fact that he hasn't had a fight this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's the time you do it. I mean, I get he's allowing the kid to do his thing, but that's Luch's job.
It's 100% Luch's job. And don't get me wrong, I think he scored. Was that right after he scored or right before he scored?
That was right before.
Yeah. So I get that he scored and that's great, but he still should have punched the other guy out and let Gilbert not get hurt, apparently.
Well, hey, Luch is a scoring machine now, right?
Yeah, right. What is it, like 800 goals left until he catches Gretzky?
No.
720 or something?
600. Calm down.
Oh, okay. I don't know. It's a lot.
Calm down. He'll get there. Just give him time.
He'll get there eventually.
Got to be patient, right?
Park his ass in front of him. That.
Yeah, you can't just rush your way into scoring titles.
Yeah. So let's talk about this high sticking call. That's everyone's talking about in Thomas Hertl and Lindholm were in the face-off dot, and the face-off happened, and then Lindholm kind of gave him a couple of, fairly hard cross checks into the chest/gut area, and he took exception. And then when Lindholm turned around and started skating away, he like baseball swung fucking right into Lindholm's face.
Which is weird because doesn't he shoot right? Because he definitely bats left, apparently.
Let's just say there was both a wind up and a follow through.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good axe. Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a chop, right? It was 100% retaliatory. Should Lindholm have done what Lindholm was doing? Maybe not. But at the same time,
you mean do what happens at almost every face-off? Should he not do that? They were battling back and forth. They were both in it.
I don't know.
It wasn't just Lindholm hitting them. They were both hitting each other.
Yeah.
He just took exception to one more from Lindholm.
Pissed off about it and fucking chopped the guy's fucking nose off. And yeah, I was expecting it to be $5,000, which is the most dumb thing I've ever heard. That you can find a guy who makes fucking millions and millions of dollars, $5,000, and say, "Oh yeah, you've learned your lesson." But that's what I thought it was going to be, because player safety is a joke. But they actually gave him 2 games, and I was both surprised and kind of happy about it. Not just because we play them again in tomorrow, but also because that is what they should do more often when shit like that happens.
So I have 2 different frame of thoughts on that play.
Yeah.
Okay. So number one, I've got my NHL's trying to protect players' heads.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Which is,
NHL claims they're trying to protect players' heads.
Yeah. And that's what I mean by they should be doing it more.
Yeah. And then on the other side, I've got my God, I miss hockey from the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. Right? When chopping somebody's head off was more okay.
Yeah, it happened 3 times a night.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, in today's NHL, there's no place for it, and he absolutely should have got 2 games.
Yeah.
Right. If he had any sort of history, he would have got 5 games. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Am I?
But he hadn't had history before, and they almost never give anybody without history a couple games. So I was impressed.
Has he ever had a fine?
I'm not sure. I couldn't tell.
Right. If you can't have history until you're suspended. Right. I can't get a job because I have no experience. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get a history until you get suspended. Then you have history.
Mm-hmm.
When you 2-hand slash somebody in the face, that warrants history, right? Or developing a history, right?
Yeah.
So there's that.
And I don't think he's a dirty player. I think he just he just did what he did.
It was heat of the moment. It was bonehead decision at the time, right?
Yeah, I make bonehead decisions sometimes. I know you don't
all the time.
God, right?
I don't. You do. I see it all the time, but that's fine, right? Some people are good at the level-headed thinking.
Yeah,
and if you're buying any of this shit, I've got something to sell you. Anyway, so you got that aspect.
Ask your daughter and your wife about that.
Yeah, well, thankfully they're in bed because they would be calling me out on this shit, and rightfully so. Right? Then there's the aspect of my love for hockey from back in the day, and you know what? When I first saw it real time, I went, "Oh yeah," and then I went, "Oh yeah, right. No, you can't do that shit anymore."
Yeah.
Right. So, am I surprised he got 2 games? Yes. Should he have got 2 games? Yes.
Yeah.
That's
and
where I'm at.
And you're not
right?
surprised because you think hockey should be how it was. You're surprised because
I'm surprised because he actually did it.
A fucking joke.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. 100%. Like,
who is it? George Peros. Like, what's fucking George Peros?
The people that they choose to have at the helm of player
Brendan
safety
Shanahan
is
and George Peros. Like,
holy shit, right? And I can't imagine why it's a joke, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, who doesn't love Shanny from back in the day, right? I mean, he was a good, gritty, hard-nosed player.
He was.
And
he could score goals
and would have been suspended. Would have been suspended for every single rule they have in place as it is right now.
Exactly.
So he should be the one calling it, right? Yeah. Now, I don't have any issue with the call. And I'll be 100% honest. I wouldn't have an issue if they didn't give him anything. Like it's to me, is it stupid? Yes. Do I care? No.
Yeah. I wouldn't.
I don't.
I would have honestly. I would have been slightly annoyed, if not slightly a little bit pissed off, if he didn't even get a fine. I would have been happy if he just got a fine, but at the same time, I think like I said before, I think the whole fining thing is a complete joke.
Finding
But
players is an absolute joke. Yeah, it does nothing. I would have had an issue with it if Lindholm would have been out of the game because of it, but he scored 13 seconds later.
Like a couple, like, yes, I'll bring this up. A couple of years ago when fucking McDavid elbowed Kotkaniemi right in the fucking face, and it was like blatantly obvious. And my salary is $13 million this year, got fined $5,000 and played the next game.
Yeah, that's
Wow,
not a joke.
That's like me getting fined 25 cents for
But he doesn't have
run.
history, Dylan. He doesn't have history. Oh, but
But
that was like the fifth time that you can go back
that
on
was
tape
the
and watch him
third time
doing
he
it.
did something that year. He did
Yeah.
a slew foot and something else. I can't even remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was that was the
And again, I
second
don't
time
think
he had,
he's a dirty player either. He
no.
went through a stretch where he was doing stupid shit and he's kind of fixed it. But
I'm gonna assume that he's fixed it because I haven't really been watching a lot of Oiler games this year. So maybe he's done it right. Like he doesn't get penalized for it because he's McDavid.
yeah,
Like he didn't get penalized for that, right?
yeah.
So I mean, who knows? Maybe he's still doing it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But he definitely has a history of doing shit like that.
Whereas, yeah. Anyways,
yeah.
So the San Jose game, good win.
Yeah. Good win we should have had.
Basically their best forward next game against us. Not that I think we need that, but it's good. Let's talk a little bit about some of the players that we've been seeing.
I think that's a great idea. I think we should
take a break.
Yeah, we should take a pause because that was a good recap because it's been a while.
Yeah.
And then take a bit of a break and we'll talk about some players and what we're seeing, what we're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
All right. See everybody in a minute. Hockey fans, light the lamp this winter at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NHL team to win their game. Get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. Minimum age, some restrictions apply. See the show notes for details.
So let's talk about some players and some of the hot topics going on right now. Some of the lineup notes.
You take notes?
I don't, but you know,
thankfully the internet does. Whoop whoop.
Yeah, exactly. Wes Gilbertson takes notes for me.
Yeah, he's good at that.
What's that?
He's good at that.
Yeah, he is. He's quite good at that. So we've kind of been through how we feel Markstrom's been playing, and he's doesn't have as many wins as he deserves because the team kind of fucking sucks dick in front of him half the time.
I think it's a 50-50 balance on that one, but that's fine.
Yeah, no, it is, but still, if the team didn't suck dick in front of him when he was playing well, then he'd have probably 4 more wins. In my humble opinion.
Well, if you would score some fucking goals, you would have more wins.
Yeah.
Can't win without scoring goals. So
if you
get your shit together, Markstrom.
Yeah. Speaking of scoring goals, Elias Lindholm had a couple last night. It looked like he was having fun in the game for the first time in a month, at least.
Yeah.
Which is great to see. And that Huberdeau pass, like when he came out of the box, that play developed so nicely because that little bump back pass from Kadri that didn't go offside. I was worried about that. And then was beautiful. And then he just rifled it over without looking, like he knew where Lindholm was. And Lindholm, and this is huge because this has been a problem all year, especially with Huberdeau passes. Lindholm didn't bobble it. It wasn't too hard for him. He just put it right in the back of the net.
Well, Lindholm was feeling it, right? And we all know what the end result is when Lindholm's feeling it. The puck's in the net.
The puck's in the net, and the puck's not in our net.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we already know what he brings to the game on a 200-foot level.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I'll never question is his ability to fend in our zone.
Yeah.
But when he's feeling it, he's got such an incredible. It's not even a full one time. You know what I mean? Like it's like a halftime. Because it's just a quick boom boom, right? Like it's not a slap shot. It's not a wrister.
It's a snapshot.
It's a snapshot, right? And
and even when he's got the puck and it's not a one timer, he's got a really nice shot. He's just had bad luck / not using it at the right times this year.
Yeah.
A lot of the team has just been really not confident, I suppose, this year would be a way to put it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he had 3 points last night. It was a +3, which is great.
Yeah.
You know, the 4 games previous to that, he had 3 points as well, all being assists, and was a combined -3.
Yeah.
So plus he had a minute or two more in ice time last night over the previous 4. So
yeah,
and so he was being rewarded for his play, because I mean he played really well last night. He was at all times, and that's Lindholm we know and love, and that's who we want to see on the ice whenever possible.
So this is something I wanted to ask you. Because he missed a couple games, or did he only miss 1 game?
Who's that?
Lindholm. When Phillips came in, Lindholm wasn't playing, and Backlund was up on the first line. I think that was only 1 game.
I think it was just the 1 game. Yeah.
Do you think there was something minor bothering him that he needed a game off for? That was bothering him all year, and that's why he looked off? Like maybe something minor going on in his hands or his wrists or
he wasn't a healthy scratch.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say no, because in my opinion, even if he was, 1 night in 3 off is not going to fix that. I think it was like an illness of some kind.
Do you I'm okay. Do you think that he's been fighting a bug for a couple weeks or something like that, or do you think it was just that day? Because he hasn't looked like himself a lot of this year, right?
No, he hasn't. But I mean, like
the team hasn't either. But
the team hasn't. I mean, he lost the 2 line mates where he had the most incredible year of his career. Like there's a lot of reasons for him to not look the same.
Yeah.
And then when you cap it off with the fact that it didn't click right away with Huberdeau, who we all kind of thought, or at least I did, I thought it would click right away because of Huberdeau's ability to create a play and Lindholm's ability to put a puck in the net. I honestly thought that would be a dynamic duel, but it just didn't materialize.
Yeah.
When he was put on the line with Ruzicka there for whatever it was, 3 games, 4 games, that looked great.
And Ruzicka was flying too.
100%. He was flying. Lindholm was flying, and I thought that was kind of what got Lindholm back into this season.
Yeah.
You know?
And no, I can agree with that.
You can see him kind of enjoying what was happening again, because he had somebody that he was able to, do that around the ice with, and they actually did quite well together.
And some Ruzicka was doing then as well that he's not doing now for some reason is something Kachuk was really good at last year, which is protecting the puck on the board and behind the net, and using his ass and getting his body in the way and shielding the puck and drawing defenders towards him so he could get the puck to somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Now you see, I find he's trying to shoot the puck at the net too fast.
Who's this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he's not waiting for a play or a player to be in the lane or anything like that. He's just rifling it on net because he got a couple of goals, so he's trying to be a shooter, which is great. Yeah. Be a shooter, but you have to be a shooter at the right time.
Yeah,
obviously. Which is funny because I mean, as fans, we all yell at our TVs or while we're at the arena, shoot.
Well, yeah, but
you got to be smart with your shot, right?
Exactly. By shoot, I mean, when Rasmus Anderson has the puck at the point for 3/4 of the power play, and Kadri has finally gotten to the front of the net, and maybe now it's time to shoot, not like just walk in and take a shot that is perfectly savable by an NHL goaltender because he can see the whole thing.
Yeah, when there's not a defender or one of your own players in front of the goalie, don't take 2 strides forward and snap.
Yeah,
like come on.
So I want to talk about another guy who's been playing, I think, pretty good. He got promoted up to the quote unquote first line with Lindholm and Toffoli 2 games ago, I think, against St. Louis.
And I think you're talking about Dubé?
Yeah.
Wasn't that just last night?
No.
Okay.
No, I think he scored a goal against St. Louis as well on that line.
Okay.
I could be wrong on that. Again, that was the game I missed, but I'm pretty sure that he was playing on that line. But I think he's played pretty good.
He's had a pretty good year.
San Jose, he did.
He's had a pretty good year with Kadri. They started out really well. And that's when I was eating all my crow because I've always considered Dubé to be a third line guy.
Yeah. And he got streaky again.
Yeah. So he started out really well with Kadri, and then essentially the two of them kind of dried up. It's tough to have a pair, right? Because people always talk about pairs, right? A center and somebody, right?
Yeah.
And so it was a good pair, but you still need contribution from that third player. And so when that third player really isn't contributing to the overall success of the line, you'll see that things dry up. Right. So
yeah, and that was happening.
But I mean, he's had a strong year, right? He's had a very strong year, Dubé, that is.
Yeah.
And I'm all for it. Like I said, I mean, if any player can prove me wrong when I say they're a third line at best and they're not going to amount to anything unless they get off their ass and show me.
Yeah.
Friggin' A, bud.
Do
it.
That's something that I think both of us get a lot of fucking shit for online is like, oh, you just always talk shit about these guys or whatever. And it's like, no, we're not. Like, it's not that we don't like them, or it's not that we don't want them to do well. Like, I know you are just like me, where I'll go back to fucking Sam Bennett. If Sam Bennett ever did sweet fuck all for the Flames ever, I would have been ecstatic. I would have been super happy. But instead, he continued to be a fucking shitty hockey player. So I hated on him.
Bennett's biggest thing, and for me, I know it's kind of off topic because we should be talking about the Flames, but just a quick one. I found that Bennett became very pouty after a couple of seasons, that he wasn't being showcased on the first line. Like, I'm Sam Bennett.
Yeah, like Neil.
Like, right.
Yeah.
So like if you if in your brain you think that you should be here, but unfortunately you're being played here, but then you pout about it, so then you really belong here, right? In my opinion. So if you know if Dylan
What Chris is
Dubé,
saying with his hands is if you're on the second line, but you're pouting that you're not on the first line, then you get put on the third line because you're pouting.
right?
Yeah.
So which is not saying that Dubé has been pouting.
I don't
That's
think
not
Dubé's ever pouted.
no, I don't think that at all. But what I am saying is, up until this year, I've always given him the third line review, if you will, because I never
because
really,
that's what he's shown for the
That's right.
last 3-4 years.
That's right.
Yeah.
But then he was
Which is fair.
bumped up onto the second. I'm like, I don't know. Like I really wasn't sold on that line at all. And then he showed that he belonged, and it was great. I don't think he belongs on the first. But
I don't think he belongs. I think he's playing really well there currently. I think that it would be a mistake for say Brad Treliving to be like, oh, that line is flying now. We'll leave it how it is, because that's not a long-term.
No, you don't want to roll into the
recipe for
playoffs.
success.
You don't want to roll into playoffs with that as your line.
No, and honestly, that quote unquote first line has one first line player on it.
That's right. And so that, all that being said, like I said, up until beginning of this year, I've always had Dubé as a third line player. Nothing more, sometimes less, but mostly nothing more. After watching him this year and how much work he's put in and how he's improved his game, I feel very confident and comfortable calling him a middle six guy now.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like he could go second, third, and I'd be perfectly okay with it, with the way he's playing at the moment so far this year.
Yep.
I agree.
That's great. And he even went through that dry spell during that 7-game losing streak, and then a little bit longer, I believe. But
you also have to look at your line mates, right? Kadri wasn't looking good. Kadri spends so much fucking time whining about shit instead of just playing the game.
He was fucking pissed off about.
He's pissed off every game or every second game.
Missing a shot or something on against San Jose last night, and I was just like, dude, you're on the bench, like fucking smashing your stick and fucking slamming shit around. It's like, if yes, the team hasn't been good, but like your attitude is not fucking helping right now at all.
Absolutely. And if it's not that, he's pissing and moaning and still slamming the stick and slamming the door closed on a non-call that he figures should have gone his way or whatever. Like, get your fucking shit together and just be a player and work your ass off and play. Quit your whining.
Which he is good at. He is good
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When he's doing it though, right? The same things happen. We've seen it with many players over the course of a number of years, right? All of a sudden, a play doesn't. So you spend all your time flailing and throwing your arms up. Well, the puck is fucking 80 feet that way. Get up.
Yeah.
Get in the play.
If the call is going to be a call, it's a call. If it's not, then you're fucked. So get up either way and run away.
And if you think a ref is going to all of a sudden try a makeup call because you're being a fucking whiny bitch on your knees or on your ass on the ice, get your head straight, because they're not going to do that. And get back in the play.
Another thing that bothers me about Kadri, like, I think all in all, his body of work has been kind of what I expected of him throughout this year, which is, he's on pace. Actually, he's probably on, like, just quick math, I think probably he's on pace for like 70 points or something like that. But I think he's a 60-ish point player. So he's doing what I expected of him. But what he's not doing, which I do expect of him, is being in front of the net on the power play. Somebody needs to be there. For some reason, he's on the half boards. We have fucking Lindholm and Toffoli and Huberdeau. All three of those guys are better shooters and passers than he is.
Yeah.
So he should be in front making a screen.
Yeah.
And I'm not joking.
No,
I
I
might
agree.
be exaggerating a little bit, but for my money, every time I've seen him do that, we either score or we generate a really good fucking chance.
Yeah.
But every time he's not, our group chat is freaking out because the power play is stagnant and nobody's moving and nobody's doing anything and there's nobody in front of the net, and then we don't score and the puck goes the other way, and power play is horrible. And I'm not pinning that all on Kadri, but
No,
he needs to be in front of the net.
no, it's not on
He needs to
Kadri
take
because
the fucking goalie's eyes away.
right. Well, yeah, I mean that's literally your job as center.
Yeah.
That's your job. Get in
Yeah.
front of the net.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you
Yeah.
have a passer, like when you have a passer like fucking Huberto,
Yeah.
and a shooter like Toffoli and another shooter like Lindholm, you don't want those guys to be standing in front. You want those guys with the puck on their stick, either making a nice pass or shooting. You want Kadri right in front. I'm not saying he's a shitty shot because he's not.
No, he's not,
But he's not as good at it as the other three guys.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you want Toffoli and Lindholm to be 20, 25 feet away from the net, ready to shoot, ready to receive the pass
And
from
closing in
sure
on the net.
Yeah.
Not just
absolutely.
standing 25 feet away from the net. Getting the puck 25 feet away from the net and then closing in on the net and not turning away.
So I will defend Kadri when it comes to what's happening on the play or the power play. And the reason why I will is it's been a problem since before he got here. Right? So
yeah.
So it's I don't think it's a player issue there. It's a system issue there.
And even because it's funny because the year, not last year, but the year before, Kachuk was always in front of the net, and that was working really well.
Yeah.
And then last year, when Cale McLean showed up,
so is McLean
started going to the side of the net.
So is McLean?
It's either McLean. It's not.
Or it's Muller. It's Muller.
Yeah, Muller. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
when Muller showed up, so that's what I'm saying. Like I don't, because before that, I can't remember who was there with Ward and like
I think it was Jelena, wasn't it?
No, Jelena was put back in the office quite a ways before that. I think, like I think the year before, but either way, it's been a thing for many years. So I will defend Kadri as far as that goes, because I don't think it's a player problem. I think it's a system issue that needs to be rectified. Like they need to practice.
I agree with that. Yeah,
they need to practice a different system when it comes to the power play.
Yeah, and they also need to stop dumping on the power play, because that's a giveaway 90% of the fucking time.
Or, I mean, stay with me here.
They can forecheck.
Maybe win it 75% of the time throughout the game, and just pull it out on occasion. You don't always have to, skate it in. Sometimes you can dump it in. It doesn't have to be your only fucking move.
Yeah.
I mean, it's about as predictable as a drop pass to Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah, and you can try a drop pass. You can try a pass over the blue line. You can try carrying it over the blue line. You can try a dump, but don't just do one fucking thing the whole time, because it makes the other team be like, okay, so I'll just stand over here in the corner and the puck will come to me like 99% of the time, and then I can just clear it.
I do like watching Huberdeau gain the zone within maybe 2-3 feet and then pass it kind of diagonally over to somebody coming in. That's been fairly successful to get in, because there's some momentum there and they have control, right? So I do like that play that Huberdeau brings to the table, because that's something Johnny would never do.
And that they just started doing that.
He would never go over the line with the puck because he's afraid to get hit hit or lose the puck, right? So he never had that drive to just keep going. He would either dump it before getting in there or dump it into the corner. Like it was right. Where now at least we have somebody that has the confidence to carry the puck over the line before passing it off. And I like that. I do like that.
So we've talked about Mangiapane without talking about Mangiapane.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about Andrew anymore. Andrew is what he is. Either he's got to get his shit together or he needs to go away.
Yeah.
Right? Stay on your feet. Pass the puck. Stay on your feet.
And this is something I know we agree on too, is Tyler Toffoli is getting a lot of hate for something that's not his fault.
But what's the hate? I don't understand what the hate is.
People are like, oh, he's got to get off the top line. He's no good. And to me, it's like he's doesn't have to get off the top line. He's third in the team in points. But to me, he is a second line player, and he always has been. All of his, you go look at his, here I'll look at it right now. His previous seasons are,
the man is on pace
between 30 and 40 points. So that's a second line player, and that's fine. He's fine.
On pace. He's on pace for a career fucking year, and he's taking heat.
Exactly,
and
that's totally fine. To me. And he's taking heat because he's on the first line. But I always try and combat that with who is going to take his place.
Right.
The heat that
on our current roster,
Matthew Phillips, obviously, right?
Fuck.
Yeah. Okay. Fucking stupid. So
yeah, he's either supposed to be on the first line or take somebody out of the fourth line, right? He's not suited for either one of those fucking spots, but whatever. But yeah.
But it's not a Tyler Toffoli problem that he slotted in properly. It's not a Tyler Toffoli problem that we don't have the guy who should be on that line. It's not Dylan Dubé's problem that Huberdeau can't seem to click there. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not, it's Brad Treliving's problem for not having a fucking first line right winger.
That's right.
Right. So we put the guy who we have that is best fitted for that spot, which is Tyler Toffoli. Do I think he should be a first liner? No, I don't. Do I think he is the best fit that we have for a first line right wing? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
That's not his fault. Stop hating on him for it.
Exactly. That 100%. The man is on pace and like to greatly exceed a career year.
He's on pace for 60-ish points.
Yeah.
30.
His career high is 58.
Yeah. So he's on pace for 30-ish goals, which is his second best year.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, his highest is 31.
Yeah.
And we're talking
that
10
year
10
he
years
won a
ago.
Stanley Cup. Look at that.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, like it's our fan base is fucking hilarious. They really are.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at our current roster, who are you putting in there? There literally is nobody to put as your top line right winger.
Okay.
That's what we've been talking about.
I'm just going to quickly run through it with you, okay?
Okay.
Matthew Phillips up there?
No.
Radim Zahorna up there?
No, he's a center.
Milan Lucic up there?
Yes.
Okay, Brett Ritchie up there?
No, we tried Ritchie on the first line, and everybody got pissed
hated
off
on him because guess what? He wasn't supposed to be there.
He's not a first
Trevor
line.
Lewis.
Well, no.
Yeah.
That would be asinine.
That would be improper slotting, right?
And I love watching Trevor Lewis play.
Me too. He's one of my favorite forwards on the team currently.
That's right.
Blake Coleman.
No.
He's a perfectly
grinder.
middle six guy.
100%.
Andrew Mangiapane.
Not a fucking chance.
Why would you have somebody who can't skate without falling down?
I want him.
On your first line.
I want him to eat popcorn for 4 games out of the next 8.
Yeah, me too. Adam Ruzicka.
No,
If
he
he
can
would
fill in.
consistently play like he played for those 4 games.
That's
Yes.
right. I mean, there's potential for him, but he's not there yet.
Yeah.
He's too young and he's learning it.
Michael Backlund.
No,
Nazem Kadri.
not a chance.
So who the fuck's going to go up there?
Nobody. Like, and it's funny because 4 out of the 7 players you just said are centers. That's
exactly
a great thing we have. That's a great thing that we have at the moment is center depth.
Yeah.
It's great to have. Don't fuck with it.
Yeah. No, and I agree. We have one guy in our Facebook group that keeps telling us that he wants to see Kadri go up on the first line with Lindholm, and Lindholm move to the wing, which
is that Muggsy?
Yeah. And it's been on my list of things to try in years past. But this year, like he's coming off a goddamn second voting for Selke.
Yeah.
As a first line center. And we have this really good center slotting right now.
If
anything in all of it.
If anything in my brain, Lindholm doesn't lose the center. Right? If Kadri's going to make it onto the first line, he's not at center.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Unless Lindholm's hurt.
Right. And the only other issue, so now you take away your quote unquote second line center, who goes there?
Do you put Backlund up there again?
I mean, I would feel okay with Backlund up there.
Yeah.
But I would prefer Backlund where he's at. Yeah, I think he's having a great year.
He's having a really good year. Would you put Ruzicka up there? Take some faceoffs, maybe?
Maybe.
But like,
maybe.
Why are we talking about this? Like, have Lindholm on your first line and have Kadri on your second line, like has been the plan the entire time.
It's
was working for the first 7 games of the season, is working again now. Let's keep it how it fucking is.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and we all know that Dylan Dubé is a center as well, so maybe he moves over. But still, I'm over that. Like that. I mean, I was over it 3 years ago.
No, I know, and I like the fact that he can take a face off.
Yeah.
I like the fact that if there's some injuries, he can possibly move over. That's totally fine. But he plays his best at wing. And 100%. He always has, and he's proving it right now. He's been promoted to the first line and is producing on the first line as a left winger.
Yeah.
Why are we moving him around?
Oh, and that's a great thing, right? If you have somebody that has played throughout their career within, junior in the A and whatnot as a center, and they're developing well on the wing, whether it be left or right, doesn't matter. Then if by some chance the center gets thrown out of the faceoff circle, it's really nice to have somebody else that has the ability to take a faceoff, right?
It sure is.
Like it's a great asset. If you have an abundance of centers that can slot in other positions, that's a phenomenal asset to have.
And like if the team is more properly slotted and Dubé's on a line with Kadri, then you have those 2 centers, and then you have Backlund and Coleman was a center in college, right?
That's right.
So he can take faceoffs.
Same with Adam, right?
And Adam Ruzicka can take faceoffs. In fact, he's maybe not the best center we have as far as faceoffs, but he can take them. Exactly. Trevor Lewis is a center, who plays right wing on the team because we have Radim Zahorna, who's a center.
That's right. Yeah. Center depth has been an issue for the Calgary Flames for a long time.
Yeah.
And it finally is starting to look like we're garnering it. So that being said, with Adam, I'm actually surprised. I thought his numbers were better. But he's at 42.55 this year in the faceoff dot. I
Yeah.
honestly thought it was better.
And
Less-
that's probably part of the reason why he's been playing wing.
Fair enough.
But
Yeah.
I'd rather have a guy who is experienced on the faceoffs and can take,
Mhm.
can win
That's right.
45% of your faceoffs
As a winger,
as a guy
as a backup.
as a backup. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
And
I was actually unaware that he's at 45.8 through his career. That surprised me.
Well, I mean, how many faceoffs has he taken? No, it can't be that many
I
in
mean,
this scheme of.
Yeah, it's not that many.
Yeah. So we have to talk about Phillips. I know that neither of us really want to, but let's make it quick.
Sure. Send him to the A.
Everybody's got this
Done.
fucking hard on about how Matthew Phillips, the Calgary boy, isn't getting a shot and
Right.
all this stuff.
Okay.
Teams having trouble scoring. But if Matthew Phillips was in the lineup, apparently we'd be scoring another 7 goals each game.
He would have to take 7 shots. He's only had 1 in 2 games.
I know.
Like everybody, like, oh, let's pull Lewis out and put him on the 4th. He's 5'8" and has never played a grinding role in his life. You just want to throw a kid out there and watch him get murdered?
Okay.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever
Phillips
heard.
plays bigger than he is, which means he plays 5'9".
Right. I'll give you that. People are like, I compare him to Theo Fleury. Theo Fleury played like he was 6'4". Like, that's not a comparison in any way.
And Theo Fleury could also hack and slash and fucking bite people's ankles. Like
that is like, fuck you for saying that about Theo, is all I got to say about that. Like, Theo deserves better than that.
You're not even a big Theo fan.
I am and I'm not. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm a huge fan of what he did on the ice. I'm not a fan of what he
of the person
did to me in person. That's fine. Yeah. Is what it is.
But
I mean, I think the comparison between Phillips and Fleury is laughable. It's ridiculous. It needs to stop.
So now that we've both got a little bit out about Phillips, who's should be in the AHL, there are players who are AHL all-stars that don't do shit all in the show, and we have other players like Zari who probably deserve to be up more than he does, and I'm over Phillips, and if he leaves for nothing at the end of this year, I will not give a fuck. In fact, I'll be happy.
I won't even be happy. I literally won't care.
Yeah.
So the
54% on the faceoff. What's that?
54? Phillips?
No. Sohorna.
Oh, Sohorna. Okay.
54% on the faceoff.
You know what? He's played every game since being called up, right?
He didn't play last game because he was.
That's right. Because we went
non-COVID.
Non-COVID, and we went with 7D.
Yeah. He doesn't have any points, I believe. Let me double check that one. He doesn't have any points, and he's a -1.
Playing 3rd line, 4th line,
4th. He's played 4th line the whole time, I believe.
Yeah,
that's right. 4th center.
4th center.
So whatever. I don't hate it. The 58 or the 53.8% on the faceoffs is enough for my 4th line center.
How many games has it been? Is it 4?
Oh, I think it's more than that.
It might be 5 or 6 now.
5.
You're right. Yeah. So after 5 games, because we know the line hasn't scored, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
He's been on the ice for 1 goal against 5-on-5.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
I'm in 5 games, and let me look at this here.
And with your wingers being different every game too, right?
And
as Luch was out for 3 of those games. So
13 goals, I think. I could be off here, but I think it's 13 goals that have been scored on us since Radim Zohorna showed up. He's been on the ice for one of them.
Right.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
For your fourth line center, 54% on the faceoffs.
Well, and like I said, like he's had different wingers every game.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you got different players that are slotting in and out. You got Luch's been he sat for 3 and all that fun stuff. As far as I'm concerned, I like him moving forward, and I hope by this time next year that I can call him a bottom 6, which I think I can.
I think he's got. I think in the next couple seasons, he'll just be what he is right now. And I don't have a problem with that. Like, yeah, he'll probably have, a few goals, a few points, whatever.
Sure.
But I think that he'll be like a full-time fourth line player who gets bumped up to the third.
And did you say he's sitting at 55% at the dot?
53.8.
53.8.
That's great.
That's Monahan in his heyday, right?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of remarkable given his lack of experience at the NHL level. That's really impressive.
Yeah. So and he'll make somebody else expendable. No, he'll make not that Luch plays center, but he could make Lucic expendable next year.
I'm thinking probably Lewis, unfortunately, but
Lewis, Lucic, whoever it is,
yeah. So it'll save us $250,000.
And he's faster than both of those guys as well. He actually is quite fleet of foot considering he's
big, right?
Fucking
5'6".
6'6".
Is he 6'6"? Damn.
And he plays left wing too, so
yeah. There's
that. But yeah, other than that, I mean, everybody else is just kind of chugging along, Anderson's been really, really good offensively this year. 21 points in 32 games. He's already got as many goals as he had last year. The rest of the guys, Hannafin's doing Hannafin things, which is
he's been
as
really
underwhelming as it always is for me.
And Anderson has been, obviously really good. I guess by really good, I mean he's been good offensively. I've seen a number of defensive gaffes, but I do like how he leads the rush a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot.
And there are defensive gaffes in his game for sure. I agree with that, but I also think that when he's playing defense, when he's not concentrated on offense, which obviously he is a lot this year, but when he is playing defense, he's actually gotten a lot better at it.
Right.
Over the last 2 years or so, I think he's
going up. I actually am more of a fan of Hannafin's game this year than you are.
I know. You always have been, though.
That's true. But I mean, like, offensively, I think he's been pretty decent. Obviously, the game the other night helped that. But
you got 2 goals, right?
Yeah. The 2 goals?
Yeah. He has 3 now, but he had 2 in that game.
That was against Toronto.
I can't remember which one it was.
It was against Toronto where he got those 2 goals. But yeah,
and he's a fine defenseman. I just think he's overrated. I don't think he's bad. I just think he's overrated, and he makes a lot more defensive gaffes than Rasmus does, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, he's got he to me, and I know you're not going to like this. He reminds me a lot of Hamilton, right? Except for I actually prefer Hannafin over Hamilton.
I prefer Hannafin over Hamilton too, but I don't like Hamilton because he can't defend his way out of a paper bag.
No, can't.
But Hannafin is I mean, again, he's a fine defenseman. He's very unspectacular in my opinion.
That's how I want my
I think
defenseman.
people misunderstand what I like. It's not that I don't like Hannafin. It's that I think that he is, and I've said this 100 times, but he's worth more on the trade market than his value is on the team.
Right.
You could get a guy who's 3 years older and the exact same and a first round pick for him.
Right.
I truly believe that because of his age and because he's got this name value. But you could get a guy who provides the exact same thing as Hannafin provides, who's 2 or 3 years older and a first round pick.
Yeah.
If you traded them. That's my opinion.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
And again, it's not that I don't like him. It's that I think that still having him and if he walks away at the end of next year, I think that that it would have been really poor asset management.
We're not. Brad's not known for that, is he? Anyways, moving on. So,
Stone's been shit, honestly, since he came back from his injury, which sucks.
I mean, he has been shit, but he's still a plus player, right?
Yeah, but he's also been put down to like 5 minutes some games because he's been shit.
Yeah, no, he had some struggles there for at least 4 games.
Very sheltered, and yeah.
But
Zadorov and Uyghur haven't been great either, honestly.
Zadorov, I've been fine with.
I know you don't think even in the last like 3 or 4 or 5 games, maybe I thought he's really gone down. I know that everybody's been all about his first, 20 games or whatever, but I think the last few he's kind of gotten really.
He hasn't been
Not
he hasn't been as strong as he was for sure, but I
Yeah.
still don't have an issue with his game. I mean, he's still a +7. He's getting some points. It's I mean, do you know anything about what happened last night with his hand, wrist,
I
arm?
have no idea. Like obviously he blocked that shot.
Yeah. But they've been very tight-lipped about it. And to be honest, especially with
He
Tanev
didn't
gone,
practice.
he didn't practice, but especially with Tanev gone, it worries me, right?
That worries me a lot. Tanev did practice,
He did, yeah.
but that doesn't mean much.
But he practiced 3 days ago as well.
And then they put him on IR after practice.
Yeah.
But he's available to be activated off of IR
Tomorrow.
If he can be. He's available to be activated off IR tomorrow for the game.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean he will be. That just means
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously when it comes to Tanev, I'd rather them take their time, right? I mean, it's nice to have the luxury of going into the Christmas break or holiday break, whatever holiday season break. So
it's 3 days this year.
Is it only 3 days?
3 or 4, yeah.
Oh yeah, never mind then.
Yeah.
I was gonna say because then you got that extra few days, but if it's 3 or 4 days and whatever.
I think we play on Thursday and then we play on Tuesday.
Sweet. I think they need to take their time with Tanev and make sure that he's healed properly because he's needed, right? Like I understand bringing him back, but
he's needed at as close to 100% as Tanev ever is, which is 72%.
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
he'll be at 100% until fucking 5 minutes into game 1 of the season, and then he'll be at 72% for the rest of the season.
I don't even think Chris Tanev starts the season at 100%.
No,
I don't think he's felt 100% for 10 years.
No,
like the way he plays the game.
I don't think there's many other people we got to talk about. Uyghur, you want to talk about him? He's been
well. I mean, he's. You know what? I mean, I don't want to shit on the guy. Obviously, I've been disappointed in his game so far, but
I have no doubt he will be.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can see, like the tools are there,
and you see it, and he every once in a while, a few times a game, I'll see him make a play, and I'll be like, that is why they got him, because he will replace Tanev when Tanev retires or goes or whatever happens.
Yep.
He is the closest thing we have to Tanev.
Yeah.
And he's signed for 7 more years.
Yeah, he's not an offensive dynamo. He's pretty reasonable at exiting the zone.
He's really good at passing out of the zone.
Yeah, he's really good at passing out of the zone. He's got a really good stick, defending with his stick. So,
which is what Tanev's really good at: body 100%. Position and stick.
That's right. And I think if he can work with Tanev, or obviously they're not line mates, but I think if he can
play
learn
together
something,
quite often.
They do.
Yeah.
But it's been quite a while since they played together, right? But I think if he can learn something from, or find some takeaways from Tanev, I think he'll be a really, really good defender for a number of years.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are upset because they saw this guy who, anchored power play 1 when Ekblad was out for however long, and for like half of last season. And I don't think that's his strongest suit, and that's not what the Flames need. I got into this conversation with somebody who I was talking to who drafted Uyghur in fantasy, and I was like, Uyghur was a great fantasy player last year, but if you look at the scope of where he was to the scope of where he was going, he wasn't a good draft at where people drafted him, because
where was he being drafted at?
I saw 5th, 6th round.
Okay, you got to think. So last
he would have been good there last year, but he is now the 4th best defenseman on the team.
No, I get that,
instead of the 2nd best defenseman on the team.
But you're literally shitting on people drafting a player based on numbers from last year, when you've got professional fucking GMs that will hand out multi-million-dollar contracts based on one fucking year, right?
The guy, I shit on them too, Chris.
The guy literally had 203 shots last year and 81 penalty minutes.
That I did not know, but
I honestly, if he was available, I would have taken him in the 5th. Personally.
Fair enough. I just look at where he came from, and the fact he was the 2nd best defenseman on a team where the 1st best defenseman was always injured and is always injured and has already been injured this year.
Right.
And now he's moving on to a team where he's going to get most like if you just think about it a little bit, he's going to get less ice time. He's playing behind Rasmus Anderson and and Tanev. So he's now the 4th best instead of the 2nd best.
Yeah, but you're talking about he is, right? Based on his progression throughout his career, he should have replaced Hanifin.
But again, if you look at how the Flames were last year, and they're not breaking up Hanifin and Anderson because they were so good together last year. That just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, but if you look at progression, right, and as you've said for a couple of years, Hanifin is expendable. That's your replacement. That's your out that you've been talking about forever,
was getting traded. Fuck yeah.
Right? Because we spent the last 4 months talking about the fact we need a top line right winger. And what's it going to take? It's going to take a really good roster player that we need to also shed a bit of cap. It's going to take a prospect and a draft pick, right? And I know,
or probably just Hanifin and maybe a mid-round draft pick.
That's right. But I know that's who you floated out as a potential option.
Oh, right? Yeah, that would have been great. I knew it was never going to happen, but that's what I would have liked.
So based on Uyghur's career and his progression throughout his career, that would have been a phenomenal fit. Unfortunately, he's not geared up, at least, especially coming in.
He's in a different role than he was in last year. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, he's in a different role, but he also struggled at the system for at least half of the games that we've had this year.
Oh, 100%.
Right. So
which is another reason. That's why I didn't draft Huber though, too, because
right. Yeah. Well,
you knew.
Yeah. That's right.
I mean, maybe that's just.
Huberdeau is the anomaly, right? Because when you think about it, he's been this player for many, many years, and then had 1 year that was unbelievable. But before that,
he was really good before that.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not exactly. But where Weegar, he had his first 2 years, he's here. Next year, boom. Next year, boom. Next year, bang.
Yeah.
And it's like, right? Like those are progressions that you want to see in a younger player. He's not younger anymore, obviously, but
no.
But when you see a player taking steps every season, I mean, granted, again, last year was the anomaly because he's coming off the President's Trophy and team and was elevated into that number one position, because of injury, but still. You still expect a player to be able to at least be not necessarily close to the height, but at least where they were, and he's not, right?
So
like he's nowhere near what he was 3 years ago.
No, and so I do know I know what you're getting at. I'm just saying he's like. He was in a role in Florida, a role that wasn't available in Calgary,
right?
In my opinion,
right,
and probably in a lot of experts' opinions as well, unless Hannafin is hurt or unless Anderson is hurt,
right?
But those guys aren't hurt every other fucking game like Ekblad is,
right?
So, or for half of every season, like Ekblad is. So that is a role that he is very likely to not have to. He is more than capable of taking that role should it arise.
What role are you talking about exactly?
The number two defenseman who can step into a number one role.
Okay. So
he is capable of that, but that is not needed on this team.
Yeah. No, for sure. 100%.
So he has a different role now. He plays with the shutdown guy most of the time.
So what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking when you have somebody like Weegar who excelled,
and it's fine. I'm not mad about that.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
When you have somebody like Weegar that excelled on, say, power play, right?
Yeah,
because he was quarterbacking the power play.
Mm-hmm. A really, 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 really good power play.
Sure.
Yeah.
But do you know why you have a really good? Do you know why you have a really good power play? Because you have a good quarterback. That's where it starts. I'm not knocking Rasmus, but all he does is fucking pass back and forth.
That is really fucking annoying.
Why not put somebody like Weegar, who had Huberdeau, in that position for a game or two? See what happens. But he only ever gets the power play 2 when Weegar's off the ice. So one of his trigger guys to get the puck to start a play out, is not there, but is available on that power play 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think, much like a lot of what happens with the Flames, is a lot of the players get mismanaged, right? Like we've watched Anderson struggle the entire season at power play. I'm not saying he's a struggling defenseman, but he just, he can keep possession of the puck. I don't give a shit about possession of the puck. I want to see shots on net and high danger chances, right?
I think this partially, and I agree with you on that. he does just kind of skate back and forth with it, like on the line, and pass to either the one guy on the half board or the other guy on the half board. But that's also because that's the only option they're giving him. He could shoot, but
those
there's
guys are
nobody
literally
in front of the fucking net.
That's
So
true.
it's a systematic problem, like you were talking about earlier.
But he doesn't even seem to look that way, right? He gets the puck and he's looking these ways, like he's already ready to distribute the puck.
Okay, I will
but
look at that more. I will look at where his head is looking more often, because I could see that, but I can't tell you I've looked at his head a lot, because I'm usually watching the puck or the play. So
I'm usually watching around the net going, where the fuck are we?
Where is everybody?
Yeah,
me too.
Why
is
that's
kind of
there?
what Anderson's looking at too. I haven't looked at his head, but he's like, how am I supposed to take a floater from the blue line like Gio used to? Then that's going to go in if
that's right.
Nobody's screening the goalie.
That's right. But I'm like, I do agree with you on Uyghur for sure. I believe that there's certain situations that we could be utilizing his chemistry with a certain top line player and power play player that's on the team right now that came with him on the trade.
I 100% agree with that. I didn't think that was going to happen, but I do think that they should give it a shot. I'm not saying they shouldn't. Yeah. I just don't think it'll happen.
Yeah, that's honestly what I think the downfall of the Flames organization has always been, is the stubbornness, right?
Especially with
our power play sucks. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying our power play sucks because of Rasmus. That's not what I'm saying.
No, I know.
But
it's a combination. Rasmus is a part of it, but it's a combination of the systems and the fact that the players
not better
straight from the system. That's horrible.
That's right. And it's not better because of Rasmus. It's not worse because of Rasmus. It's not better. So if it's stagnant, why not try for two times in a game? What's the harm?
Well, last year we were like, put fucking Stone there.
I'm
right.
Because I want Stone on the second power play still.
And he's had shifts there. He scored a power play goal earlier this year.
Exactly.
No, he didn't. He busted one off of a pad that I think Kadri scored on the power play, because he was on the power play for once. And that's how, you're right. It shouldn't always be the same five guys. Most of the time, but like fucking switch it up sometimes. If things aren't working, switch it up.
And when you look at how fast Sutter will change up lines because something's not working.
Well, they had 7 great games and then had one shitty period in Edmonton, and he's like, okay, we're gonna rip apart everything that didn't work.
But he refuses to change up the power play. Right? But then he refuses to change a power play.
Yeah.
That is, what are we sitting at? 18%?
I don't even know.
Like, whatever
not
it is. Good. It's not great, right? Like, it's clearly not
he's
good.
even said we need one more goal. He says that after 90% of our games. He said we need one more goal. It's like, okay, well then when are we going to score goals on the power play? Well,
it's been the same 5 guys all season long.
Yeah.
Maybe change one player. Start with one player.
Or even
if you're not going to change the system, if you're not going to change the system, you got to change a player if you want a different result.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Nope. I agree with that. Anyways, this has been a really good episode. Good chat.
It's been a good chat.
Got a little heated at the end there, which is always good. But
I don't know about heated. I'll show you fucking heated.
Oh, fucking show you a Cheeto in your beer, you motherfucker.
Yeah, see? That was all. I'm sorry to the 5-hole crew, but geez. I mean, it all happened too late. Dylan was working weekends, and my beard was down to about here, and I was going to start eating chips and shit out of it, but can't do it with the trimmed up. I got to look good for my grandma for Christmas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm doing that right now, but I at least have a trimmed beard.
Mm-hmm. You got to look good for all the people out in podcast land.
Yeah. Well, especially the ones at Spotify, the audio version, because I got the face for radio.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Anyways, thanks for tuning in for another show, everybody. Don't forget to smash the like, hit the subscribe, share with everybody. Let's start getting these podcasts going again. I know it's been a couple of weeks since Dylan and I have been on. I've had a couple of illnesses and some personal family matters happening nowadays. And of course, now we've got the holiday season coming up. So we're going to try and get an episode out to you again real quick right after. And other than that, I hope everybody has a safe holiday season on the weekend and some good times with your friends and family. Until we all see you again.
Happy holidays. Cheers.
Cheers. Go Flames, go.